Hey guys, welcome to Massive Iron Live. Welcome to a hotel room. I'm in a hotel room in Denver doing a little bit of workcation, not really a vacation, but I'm away helping a friend. So I'm here in a hotel room in Denver. If anything sounds weird, if you can't hear me, if anything sounds a little bit different, I apologize. I'm trying to run this off my phone, and I don't generally run the lives off my phone. If I look exceptionally tired, that's probably because I am. I drove about 12 and a half hours the day before, and still getting caught up on sleep, still getting caught up on the adjustments on the time zone changes. So we're going to run live normal. I appreciate you guys joining me. If you're new here, I do live every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. If you could let me know if the video and sound is okay before we get rolling. If you could just say sound is good, video is good, and we'll roll on. A couple of things before we get started. The $6.99 coaching special that I offer is going to stay active and live for new customers or existing customers until July 4th. So if you're interested in a year of coaching, check that out if you have. Thanks, Drew. I appreciate that. I got my tablet down here as well where I'm monitoring some of the other questions. If you're interested in the $6.99 coaching special, just hit me up on Instagram at Ben the Barman, at Ben the Barman. And let me see if I can get my banner up here. Can we get the banner up here? There we go. We're high tech from my phone, right? If you guys are tuning in to Massive Iron Live and you're running a little bit late or you missed the live streaming, you can head over to Instagram at Ben the Barman, at Ben the Barman. Slide into my DM with your questions. I'm always there to help. So let me move that. One other thing, I have a community. You can see the link down below, teammassiveiron.com. I would love for you to join. This is a private community. Part of this community is micro coaching. So if you're interested, you can come over there. You can get form checks. You can have me review your program, all sorts of things. And we have chat. We have live chat going on. So if you're interested, please check out teammassiveiron.com. So how's everybody doing today? I got out and did watched a baseball game yesterday in Colorado. I was working. I've been working pretty late. My clients have seen me working pretty late, but managed to squeeze out and see the Dodgers playing in Colorado. That was pretty fun. So just a reminder for those of you guys that are that follow this channel, make sure to click the notification bell. It's not something I hammer, but YouTube can be really funny with these live videos and not notifying anybody. They're not notifying half the people. So it's not always good enough to subscribe. If you guys like these live videos or if you just want to support the channel, please click the notification bell. So if you're new here, if your comments don't go through, it's not me throttling you. YouTube can be really funny with comments. So if your comments don't go through, try shortening them. Try rewording them. Sometimes YouTube will filter random words for no reason at all. So let me see here. Just making sure my comments are working. So that's about it. I want you guys to post up your questions on anything, diet, training, nutrition, off topic, whatever. I'm here to help, so don't feel like a question has been asked 1,000 times before. Got my Purple Monster here in Denver. I got my air conditioning unit right over here. I have it set to like -5, absolutely freezing in here. So I'm enjoying the cool weather because it was pretty hot here in Denver. So, all right, guys, let's get into things. It takes me a little bit more time to get things up on the screen. Good morning, Team Massive. Good morning, Yvonne. How you doing? And Big Joe B, a client of mine, what's going on? Good morning, Team Massive. Dumbbells and Donuts, client of mine. Happy Friday, Team Massive. Missing today's live, unfortunately, but we'll be catching up on Monday. If you guys do miss it and you want to support the channel, nothing helps me more than watch time on these lives because the lives run for an extended amount of time. So even if you put them on the background when you're working out or whatever, Much appreciated. So this is going to be a little bit different because I'm working off my phone. There might be a little bit of delay, so just hang tough with me. Yvonne, do hip thrusts have any significant carryover to deadlifts or RDLs? I wouldn't say significant, no. But let's be careful in how we word things because strength builds strength, right? We have to understand that if we're getting really strong in a lift, it's only going to help the full body strength. With that said, when we're looking at building a big deadlift, we have to analyze, bang for the buck. We only have so many hours of gym time a week, and we want to put into those gym hours. We want to put into those hours, as much quality work as we can. We want to get in our quality back work. We want to get in our quality quad work. You probably want some sort of a big, heavy shrug to really work that yoke. So when it comes to building a big deadlift, we have to make sure we get in all the base work, the base building work. And then from there, if we have any time to play around with like deadlift assistance exercises, this could be, you could try the hip thrust. There's nothing wrong with trying the hip thrust. You could try the wide stance good morning, the powerlifting type of good morning. You could try the stiff leg deadlift. There's a lot of different things you could try, but on that chain, right, on that food chain, so to speak, do I feel the hip thrusts are going to have a significant amount of carryover to the deadlifts? Probably not. If I were to work something, if I were to be a deadlift obsessed, I would probably consider something like the Dimmel deadlift as a starting point because it is a deadlift variation. I don't want to come off as smack talking the hip thrusts. I just think there's a lot of better choices. I mean, if you can get your barbell hip thrusts up to like, I don't know, what's a good barbell hip thrust? Do you really want to load up 700 pounds and get under the bar? Like, I don't even know if I could, right? I don't even know if I could. But, if you're getting to that point where you're really loading up insane amounts of weight and you're doing hip thrusts, maybe it could, right? But, is the setup time, is all that kind of stuff worth it to you? My chair's falling backwards. If I die, right? I don't know. Not a big fan of it. Not a big fan. Is it common to feel all hamstrings and little to no glutes on good mornings? Yeah, it's very common. I mean, in the posterior chain, in all those movements that we're working, the deadlifts and the squats and the good mornings and the RDLs and whatever, you're going to have different strengths and weaknesses, right? You're going to have, you could have weaker hamstrings and stronger quads. You could have a weaker lower back and feel things more in your lower back. You could have a weaker hamstrings and feel things more in your hamstrings. When I did squats, I've done squats for 38 years. When I do squats, I feel them mostly in my hamstrings. So the question is, if I'm feeling them mostly in my hamstrings, and we can use this, example for the good mornings, does that mean it's only working the hamstrings? No. If you have a weak muscle group in the chain and you can feel it in that muscle group, it doesn't mean the other muscle groups in that posterior movement aren't getting worked, if that makes sense. So it generally just really means that because of your limb lengths and leverages, you're generally targeting that more, or that it's a weak muscle group in the mix. But if you do your form right, always remember this. If your form is correct on good mornings or RDLs or squats or whatever, it's going to hit the muscle groups that are involved with that movement. So you guys can 100% relax. You don't need to worry about that. Harris, howdy Team Massive. Harris is from Team Massive. Question: how do you manage to facilitate beginners, intermediate, and advanced at the same time? Everyone else targets a selected group. You help all. Because I understand that because I understand when it comes to lifters that they're not beginners, that they're not just intermediates, that they're not just advanced, right? Um, Lifters are at all different places in different things. Now, there are some really advanced lifters, obviously, that know programming, know how to coach the squat. I'm not coaching them, right? I'm not coaching them. But with my experience, I am able to meet somebody where they're at. I'm able to find their weak spots. Maybe it's programming, maybe it's form. It's really not complicated, right? You really just have to meet somebody where they're at. Really, the thing is, when it comes to coaching or when it comes to lifting in general, is that the first aspect is for us to get on the train tracks, right? What I mean by that is when somebody comes to me for coaching, do they have their nutrition nailed down? Do they have their training nailed down? What does it mean to have your training nailed down? Well, they are consistent. They like they like what they're doing. They're motivated. They enjoy progressive overload. They enjoy attacking the sets. They enjoy the process. You don't have to force them. You don't have to coerce them to send you a workout report because they're highly motivated. This is what they want. So in the training sense, they are on the tracks. Now, there are some people that come to coaching, not just me, but just come to coaching, or a lot of guys in the average commercial gym that want the results, but they're inconsistent. They're inconsistent with training, inconsistent with nutrition. They might not want to add weight when they're supposed to add weight. They kind of push back against progressive overload. Those guys aren't on the tracks. And part of coaching for those types of people is to get them on the tracks, because if they're not on the tracks, we can't move forward. Now, there are a lot of guys that come to me, intermediate lifters, that are training hard, doing really well. They're on the tracks. They're consistent with nutrition, but they might have form issues, right? Or they might have inferior programming to a degree. So we will improve the programming. We'll focus the programming. Not everybody's a programming expert, obviously. So we'll focus their programming, and we will, we'll get things efficient. We'll get the form efficient. We'll get programming efficient. And those types of guys tend to see very good results. The more advanced guys, I've trained some more advanced type of guys, power lifters, the guys that are benching 400. A lot of times they need programming ideas, or they need focus, because they struggle with some of the same things we do. They can struggle with work stress or life stress, and they might need accountability. That's the thing to understand, that just because somebody is an advanced lifter doesn't mean they don't have struggles. There are a lot of folks out there that, that very strong, but they might have marriage issues. They might have work issues. They might be doing school part-time. They might have job issues. So they need some accountability, and they need some focus, and they just want somebody to help them in those areas. One thing you should find with a good coach is that they understand the value of having a coach. And many of them, if not now, in the past, have had coaches. I have had running coaches. I've had a couple lifting coaches. Way back when, I had a bodybuilding coach. Way back when. I've had an accountability coach, myself. And I've had running coaches. I've hired some of the top runners in the world to coach me, not because I wanted to be a top runner in the world, but because I wanted the accountability and I wanted to learn from them. So I hope that helps a little bit. Let me just scroll up here. Is compound quads before compound hammies a rule, or can we do the lagging muscle group first? Well, number one, you're assuming a muscle group is lagging. We don't assume that, right? What we do is we focus on training every muscle group from head to toe with the assumption that they're all weak. We focus on getting them all strong. If something is truly lagging, it depends on the context, really. I mean, I don't want you doing hamstring work for squats unless your hamstring work is very, very strong. But unless your squat form is very, very strong and focused, and then you could do maybe some leg curls or RDLs or whatever before squats. There's variables there. It's not a simple answer. It depends on how strong your lower back is, what exercises you have in the mix, etc. So I know that's not really an answer, but that's probably not the answer you wanted, but that's the honest answer. So, Big Tim, happy Friday, folks. This week, I became an airborne trooper for real. Congrats. Tim is a member of Team Massive and is in the military and going through some military training. So happy to hear that, Tim. And, I want to interject with you guys. A funny thing happened last week on YouTube. I don't know if YouTube changed a setting or whatever, but the views dropped slightly right out of the gate. YouTube sometimes can be really crazy at notifying people. So just a reminder to please click the notification bell so you can get notified of lives. Let me know if you guys were notified. You guys here were probably notified, but the number of people I've had on the live stream last week was down dramatically over every time I've done it for the last 5 years. And I could tell YouTube hadn't notified people. So anyway, enough about that crap, right? Stein, how's it going, Stein? Good to see you. Tim, I saw this question before we hopped on, and I was curious to answer it for you. How much does nutrition the day before a workout affect it? Well, I mean, we have to, number one, make sure we are in a place of consistency, right? Our nutritional consistency. Are you consistent pretty much day in and day out with your structure, with your general, meal planning, that sort of thing? Are you fairly consistent? If you are, then that's a good thing. If you're inconsistent, then you're opening doors to inconsistent training experiences, right? You could be eating fewer carbs, different timing points, less sodium at, variances in those timing points of your sodium. That sort of thing can impact workout energy. One thing I noticed from long distance running or trail running, endurance running, was that sodium played a major role in how I felt energy wise. So you can feel a little bit flat. You can feel a little bit flat if your sodium or electrolyte timing is off. So it obviously can. It can to varying degrees. I mean, you could have a weaker day meal-wise the day before, something abnormal, and then have a bigger dinner and then feel absolutely okay. So there's no generic answer for this. I mean, it's, if you have lower calories the day before, yes, there's a possibility that you are going to feel it during your workout. You might have less glycogen in the muscles, less salts, electrolytes in the system. And then you might have eaten a bigger dinner to compensate. So really, really hard to tell, Tim. Just don't overthink it, right? Whenever we're in the gym, what we always have to do is think about how are we feeling? How are we feeling during those warm-ups? And if anything is off, then we can adjust if we need to, if that makes sense. All right, let me get a drink here. Sorry. Tips for dealing with poo-poo equipment. The El Cheapo bars at the rec center I go to have no middle knurling and always slide when I squat. All right, so let's address that. Some of you may or may not know, and I'm going to educate you quickly in case you don't know. If you do know, you know, and if you don't know, you don't know. The bars with the center knurling, that's to help you grip when you squat. That's to help grip your shirt when you squat. If you've noticed, there are some bars at your gym that don't have knurling. And sometimes if you're a knucklehead like me, you go to a random commercial gym, you're traveling, whatever, and you put a bar on the rack and you're squatting, and it feels like it's sliding off your back, and you're like, hashtag WTF. And then you step back and you're like, oh, it has no center knurling. I was a dum-dum. I was an idiot. I was a fool. I didn't even notice because I was kind of in the zone. So you figure it out. You figure out that bar has no center knurling, but maybe none of the bars have center knurling. So what do? One of the things you can do is take something like painter's tape or something where you can maybe put something on the center of the bar that might have a little bit more grip than the smooth. Hopefully people at the bar at your gym won't care if you do so, but this is really a safety issue. And you probably want to put something on there with a little bit of grip or stick. And I say something like painter's tape because it's not smooth, necessarily smooth. It's a little bit gritty, I guess you could say, but you could do something like that. And if you don't want to do that, you could put something sticky on the back of your shirt, right? So you could kind of do that. If you have an old shirt that you don't mind, you could get some of that grip support stuff you can use for lifting. I forget what they call it, right? It's liquid chalk, and that might help, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you could slip some liquid chalk onto the bar without anybody noticing and not get kicked out of the bar. I don't know, but you have to be safe. You have to kind of either deal with it, or you're going to have to find some kind of workaround like that allows you to, squat safely. I'm sure the guys here probably have come across this at some point, or some of the guys might have ideas on what to do when that center knurling is crap. But what I would do, even if you can't do that sort of thing, what would I do if the bar's slippery? I would lower the weight and do more reps. So if I was scheduled to do, let's say, for example, 315 pounds for 3 sets of 5 on the squat. Let's say somebody was going to go in and do that on the squat, and they find out they have a ganky bar that is slipping. Maybe you just do 225s for 5 sets of 10 or 4 sets of 10, get in, get out. Sometimes in some seasons of life, holding the ship steady is the best choice rather than risking that bar slipping and being in an unsafe position. So there are just some days, some seasons in life where you just have to hold that ship steady. Big Justin Jones, good morning. Big Hairy Ugly Dude and Team Massive. What methods of progression are good for dumbbell exercises? My preferred method of dumbbell progression is straight sets. You just use the same weight for each set, okay? And then you could do a rep goal system, or you could do last set max reps. So let's say you're doing 50 pounds on the dumbbell bench, right? And you're going to do 3 sets. You could do the rep goal. For those of you guys that don't know what the rep goal is, you add up the reps for each of the sets, and if they hit your total, then you add weight the next time. So we could set a rep goal total of 30 on the dumbbell bench. So we do our 3 sets. We might do 12, 10, and 8. 12, 10, and 8, if you add them up, equal 30. So 30, if 30 is your rep goal, then you would add weight the next time. You would bump up to the 55s. Now your reps are going to drop. That's okay. That's normal. They might drop to 10, 9, and 6, which is 25. Now we have to work those reps back up to 30 again. So that's the way the rep goal works. When you hit your rep target or go over, you add weight. Now, last set max reps, basically we can do 8, 8 max, 10, 10 max, where we go in and we do the first set for 8 reps, the second set for 8 reps, and the third set for maximum reps. Or we can do the first set 10 reps, second set 10 reps, third set maximum reps. When that final set is 2 or more over the baseline, 8 and 8, 10 and 10, whatever we are using, then we move up in weight. Why would we do this instead of the rep goal? Well, the rep goal forces you to push every set for maximum reps. That's okay. If you like that, if you like training close to failure on that lift on every set, that's okay. Max safe reps on the last set, you're only training the last set close to failure. That's okay. Over the long run, 3, 5, 10 years, you don't have to train every set close to failure. And that can freak some people out. But when you start to get strong, training every set close to failure is a good recipe to tear your body up. So we have to be reasonable. My clients generally start with about 50% of sets, not push to failure, because we don't talk about failure in the massive art world, but for maximum safe quality reps. So that's a starting point for us. Now, you can do dynamic double progression. This involves using a different weight for each set, and you're going to have a rep goal for each set. The first set, you're going to be most fresh, right? Because it's the first set. But we're going to set a rep target for each. So let's say you start with 55s on the first set, 50s on the second, and 45s on the third. And you're going to work with a rep targets of 8, 10, and 12. So on the 55s, the first set, your goal is to hit 8 reps. When you hit 8 reps on that top set, then you move only that top set up. Does that make sense? The second set, your rep goal might be 10. So you're using the 50s on here. When the 50s get to 10 reps or more, then you would move that set only up in weight. Third set, you're doing 45s, and your rep goal might be 12. When you get that set to 12, then you would move that set up in weight. So each set's on its own track. The downside to DDP is that you have to use a different set of dumbbells for each set, and that can be a pain in the ass, especially if in a crowded gym. So those are 3 methods. There are other methods you can use. Those are 3 reasonable methods. One thing you can do as well, in a fourth way, is, let's say you're doing 50s on dumbbell bench, and you get 10, 10, and 12 reps. Jumping from 50s to 55s on all 3 sets can be a little bit challenging at times, because that's an increase of 10% in weight. So if you're doing 50, 50, 50 and you hit your progression indicator, you could move that first set only up next week to 55s. So you do 55, 50, and 50. Now, if you hit 10 reps on that 55, then the second set you can move up in weight to 55. Does that make sense? So the first set is kind of a trigger. When that first set hits 10, then you can move that second set up in weight to 55. And then when that hits 10, then you can move the third set up. Now, we're using 10 reps as an example. It could really be anything. If you're doing pec deck, you could use this strategy. Maybe you want to use 12 reps. Maybe you want to use 15 reps. Doesn't really matter. I hope that makes sense. Is it better to do? Okay, here we go. Right. Whenever something starts in the lifting world, is it better? The answer almost always is there is no better, right? So we'll dive into that. Is it better to do 2 exercises for 2 sets or 1 exercise for 4 sets? You have to look at the context of the program, my friend. You have to look at the context of the program. Better is not comparing one variable to the other. You can have seasons where you might want to do 2 exercises for 2 sets. You might want to do bench and dumbbell bench, or bench and incline bench. You might want to do 2 sets of both today. This might be a season of your life where you want to do 2 sets of flat bench and 2 sets of incline bench. Then 3 months, the next phase of training, you decide that you want to do 4 sets of 10 on bench. There's no right or wrong. There's no better. You guys have to understand that's nonsense. We have to look at the context of the program. Better is having a grouping of exercises for each body, a reasonable grouping of exercises for each area or body part. Now, in my example, we're using bench and incline bench. If you did only, the one exercise for 4 sets, the bench press, for 4 sets of 10, you would still need to back that up, right? With maybe incline dumbbell bench, machine chest press, pec deck, whatever. You don't just do 1 or 2 exercises for each body part unless it is like your arm work, right? But basically what we're talking about here is not arm work. So I hope that makes sense, guys. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions on that. Big William Baker. Happy Friday. Won't be able to watch much live, but we'll catch a replay. I appreciate you guys that watch the replay because every minute on these lives matters. It really does. And there's sometimes, I'm going to be honest with you guys sometimes. I'm going to be honest with you guys about this because sometimes people think it's about money, right? I have a business. I coach for a living. I'm a small channel. I don't make that much money off YouTube. It's you guys watching this isn't about money for me. It's about helping people. And every video you guys, or every minute you guys watch of lives help because lives are a long ass video and it really helps when you guys watch. So I hope there's some value here, enough value that it encourages you guys to watch. And if not, post up your questions so I can help you out. I'll answer anything, beginner, intermediate, advanced. Big Justin Jones. How do you decide how many bulldozer rest pause sets to do? You generally start with 5. For those of you guys that don't understand, a bulldozer rest pause is, or are you saying multiple bulldozer rest pause sets or mini sets? The bulldozer protocol is 1 set that involves 5 mini sets, okay? Don't get intimidated by 1 set because the rep volume is going to be the same. If you do 3 sets of 10 on bicep curls, barbell curls, let's say, that's 30 total reps. If you do them bulldozer rest pause, if you do them bulldozer rest pause style, here's how they're going to work. You're going to do each set for maximum safe quality reps, but you're only going to rest 15 to 20 seconds in between these mini sets. So you're going to do 1 set of bulldozer rest pause, but it's going to contain 5 mini sets. So max safe reps, rest 15 to 20 seconds, max safe quality reps, rest 15 to 20 seconds until you hit 5 total efforts. Now, you only do 1 of those. Let's say you hit 12 reps on the first, okay, 8 on the second, that's 20. 4 on the third, you have a little bit of drop off, that's 24. 3 on the fifth, that's 27. And then you bounce back a little bit and get 30 with 4 and you get 31. 31 total reps. You're going to get about the equivalent doing the 1 bulldozer set as you're going to get with about 3 regular sets. So you're going to get about the same number of reps. That's why I structure it with 5 mini sets, but you only do 1. That it's fairly intense. And with the bulldozer rest pause system, yes, you're only doing 1 set, but you're doing about the same number of reps, plus the average rep intensity or rep quality is higher, if that makes sense. So you don't go into barbell curls and do 2 or 3 bulldozer rest pause protocols of 10 to 15 total mini sets. That would likely be way too much. The rest pause protocol is pretty intense. It's going to leave you very, very sore. So I hope I answered your question correctly. Big Jimmy Cooksworth. Steve, I'm working without the cable machine. Yesterday, I subbed tricep extensions with dumbbell pullover. Nah, not really. The dumbbell pullover does hit your triceps to a degree. You can do the PJR pullover, where it's more of an extension, okay? But you don't want to do a straight dumbbell pullover because that's going to work your lats and or your chest to a degree. But look for something called the PJR pullover. Okay, the PJR pullover is when you get about here, you want to really rotate and focus on that extension. It's all about the extension. So you'll bring it back here, but the point of bringing it back here is to facilitate the extension. It's very much like a skull crusher in that sense. There is some nuanced difference between that and the skull crusher. So just check that out and let me know if you have any questions. Barbell Beauty from Team Massive, how is it going? And I'm a dad. What's your superpower? Any news on the app? Yeah, we're going to be releasing it for alpha very, very soon, likely within a couple of weeks. And probably when I get back from this trip to Denver, this working trip to Denver, we're going to look at. We're going to talk about a final day of moving it to alpha. I've been using it for 6 weeks now in the gym, and everything's going really well. So everything is right on track. We're taking our time doing it right. Big Adam Limbach. Big hairy ugly dude. Looks like my question didn't go through the first time. Sorry about that. YouTube is really funny. I appreciate you guys' patience. Your thoughts on adding in Cossacks and Zerchers for quads? I already do safety squat bar, Bulgarians, and leg extensions. Not a big fan of Zerchers for quads. The Cossacks, I'd have to look at it. I can't even remember what they look like, to be honest with you. It's such an obscure exercise, so I don't mean to be dismissive, but it's not an exercise I've looked at in over 10 years. I don't even remember how it's performed, but you have safety squat bar, you have Bulgarians, and leg extensions. You have 3 good things in the mix. I'm not a big fan of tossing in another big, heavy posterior chain movement. Zerchers are okay. I would consider them more an accessory for your deadlifts, but they're not really going to be a quad builder unless you stay moderate in weight and really focus on the quads when you're doing them. The problem with Zerchers is that we get big, juicy testicles, and we want to lift heavy weight, right? We love the Zercher is kind of one of those big posterior movements where we like to do really heavy weight with. But if you're going to do them for something like quads, you need to focus on using moderate weight, something that's not going to tear up your mid or lower back, so you can focus on the quad. You have to treat it more like a goblet squat with cradling the weight, and that can get pretty challenging. So I'm not against it because you have 3 big exercises for quads in play, but just be smart. Know that they're not inherently the best quad builder, and if you're going to use them, you're going to have to use them wisely. All right. We're about 40 minutes in. You guys got some good questions today. Keep them rolling. Drew said sound and video is okay. For those of you guys tuning in late, I'm in a hotel in Denver. I have a friend that is, I haven't seen in a while, and I'm not going to share all of his personal information, but this year he came down with a brain issue, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. They had him at the Mayo Clinic. He has a leak in his brain, fluid leakage in his brain, and he was just falling asleep randomly. And it got so bad that he had such bad brain fog that he couldn't work. He was lying on the couch for just months on end. Just so much pressure and stress in his brain. They couldn't find out what was wrong. Anyway, there's a conference in Denver, and he really wanted to go to it. And I volunteered to drive him to the conference because driving with the condition, not a good thing. He's doing better, obviously, but still, I had to drive 14 hours. So I'm a little bit tired, but I'm in Denver, but I'm working. I did sneak out to see a ball game yesterday, the Rockies and Dodgers, at 1 o'clock, but then I got back here and worked pretty late. My clients saw me probably messaging after midnight. Big Jonathan Happy Friday, Stephen Team Massive. Hope you're well. Thank you, sir. If you've had 1.5 weeks where you couldn't lift, how do you go about it, and what would your mindset be? Relax. That's my mindset, my man. If you're going, let's crush France tonight. Go Holland. I thought for a moment you said you were traveling to France, but uh, if you can't lift for 10 days, mentally consider it. There's going to be times where we should take a break during our training year to allow the little wounds to heal, right? To lick our wounds, so to speak. We're training hard, and we can pick up little minor strains and pains and aches. We might not even notice they're there. We might just live with them. Consider this a time where you are going to just allow your body to heal. I want you to relax, right? I want you to embrace it. I want you to go have fun. Mentally take a break. Physically take a break. Having 10 days off isn't the worst thing, right? You're not going to lose muscle. If you are more than 10 days from a big lift, when you return to that lift, you probably want to drop the weight 10%. Your connective tissue, in my opinion, can weaken faster than the muscles. So we want to really make sure we baby that connective tissue a little bit. But have fun, man. Have fun. Relax. 10 days is nothing. And just consider it a time where you're going to let that body heal up a little bit. Big Drew. I'm just scrolling forward here to see what we got here on the questions. Keep them coming, folks. This morning, I got only half of my delt work done. Is there anything wrong with it? No, not at all. Think of things always in terms of weekly volume. And how you get in that weekly volume or that volume over the course of a week doesn't matter as long as it stays reasonable. Does that make sense? So if you only got in one squat, let's say you only got in one set of squats, and your wife is texting you like, "Why don't you check out the garbage, you piece," right? Or whatever. Your girlfriend calls, or whatever. Your buddy calls and says he's got tickets to the game, and you're like, I gotta go, right? Let's say whatever. Well, life happens. Dog puke. Something happens where you can't finish your squats, and you do only one set of squats. If you come back to them a little bit later, you're going to have to warm up because we have to get that central nervous system up to speed. But you can always come back to the same exercise or always come back to that other work. You just have to warm up appropriately because you can't just hit pause for a couple hours and come back and be ready to go. But always think of things in terms of weekly volume. The numbers might vary. Let's say you're doing a dumbbell overhead press, typically after a military press. Well, typically, your dumbbell overhead press is going to feel a little bit fatigued because you did a military press first, right? Let's say you come back to that dumbbell overhead press 2 hours later because you had to leave and you're feeling a little bit more fresh. The numbers might spike a little bit. They might go up by a rep or two. That's not a bad thing. Always know there's going to be a little bit of difference. Don't panic because our goal is to train hard. Our goal is hard training and numbers are secondary. So I know it seems weird to light up a muscle twice in one day, but we always have to have the focus on weekly volume. That's our big focus. All right, Robo Warrior. Hey, brother, been a follower since you were the bearded beast. Hey, I thank you. I can't thank you enough. I've been taking a break from heavy work for a couple months to find my weak points and wonder what's the best way to bring them up to par. Well, in my world, we focus on bringing up everything. We focus on training everything as big and as strong as possible. And then over the course of 4, 5, 6, whatever number of years, we can kind of assess, do I have a muscle group that's lagging? Do I have a lift that's really lagging? So I can't sit here and say I can't sit here and say, hey, Robo Warrior, there's a method to bring up any weakness, and it is this. Each weakness is very specific to the lifter based on your limb lengths and leverages and equipment and injury history and what exercises you're currently using and what you're not using. So I would consider joining Team Massive Iron where I can help you a little bit more. It's not full-blown coaching, obviously, but we can discuss things a little bit more in an environment that is a little bit more in depth. He said, just to add, I have some joint and mobility issues due to autoimmune conditions, so I had to take 3 years off previously. Getting back into things, you need to go slow and just build up, slow and build up. When I moved into, I bought my first house in December of last year, and I had to move my home gym, and my wife was away in Australia, so I had to move everything myself, and then I had to move my home gym and set up my home gym and do all the stuff. And I was away from lifting for over 4 months. When I came back, I started at square one. I started right at 135-pound bench, right at maybe 185 deadlift. But I started really, really light and built up the things, let that connective tissue. You have to let that connective tissue get up to speed. Big Tim, what do you think of one hard set of deadlifts a week? I'm absolutely okay with that. I think the deadlifts can take a lot of time and energy. I think they can take more than they can give. That's a generic statement. It doesn't apply to everything at all times. I think there's value in limiting your overall deadlift reps just so you have time in gym for other things, and because they can be punishing. One set is fine. Typically, what I would tell people is to downgrade to 2 sets, like to do 1 set of 4 to 6 reps, and then to back down weight 10% and maybe do another set. I would do this. I would do 1 set, and then on any given day, if you have time or energy, do 1 more additional back down set. Also, I'm currently on a 6-day-a-week split. Okay, you're jumping right into things, but doing heavy, light, medium, mostly bodybuilding. And in a month, I'll go back to, okay, so you're coming off training and you're going all in, my friend. Just know you don't have to do that. You can allow for some recovery time, because if you've been away from the gym, going 6 days a week can leave you pretty sore. It's noble and everything, but be careful. And I'm not really a big fan of heavy, light, medium. I'm going to be honest with you, because you've been away from the gym for 3 months or 3 years. I don't know your complete situation. But if you're coming back to the gym, I assume maybe you're doing heavier exercises like the bench, lighter like the dumbbell fly or the pec deck, and then medium like maybe the dumbbell bench. That would be okay. I just want to make sure you're not cycling weight. As long as you're not cycling weight, you're absolutely fine. Lee, Big Steve playing Lincoln tonight, so you'll be sampled in a gaming bar started Window Makers. How would you best track progress with it? And also my guitar says hi. Awesome, man. Lincoln, Nebraska, I assume. I drove through Nebraska just a couple days ago. Window Makers on squats are 20 reppers. There's a couple things you can do. I put out a video on 20 rep squats, and I would really encourage you to check this out. There's a couple different methods of doing 20 rep squats, and this video really dives into this. You can search 20 rep squats. It's on this channel. Just go on the main page. You can do, I don't like to do 20 reppers every week. You can. If the last, that 20 rep set, if it feels manageable, like you didn't die, then add 5 pounds next time. What you can also do is do a 20 repper 1 week, and then the next week use the same weight for a 15 repper, so you can get a little bit of a mental break, because it's hard just to add 5 pounds every week. You can do that as well. You can do a 20 repper with, say, a given weight this week, and then drop weight 10%, do a 20 repper next week. And you can work in a little bit of micro periodization just for a mental break. And people are like, why would you do that on the 20 rep squat? Well, number one, you can't add 5 pounds every week, right? You can't even add 5 pounds every other week. You might be able to for the first 4 weeks you're doing this, but it's going to catch up to you real quick, and they're going to suck really, really quickly. So a little bit of periodization between, dropping weight 10% the second week or dropping reps to 15 the second week can be good for the long run, just for the mental aspect of those things. As far as tracking progress, I progress on those when weight feels manageable at 20 reps. Like I didn't die, then I'll add 5 pounds. Big Chris, good morning, Chris. Thanks for tuning in. Shelly, good morning, Shelly. A client of mine, thanks for tuning in. Big Randy, how's it going, Randy? Training was good this morning. Glad to catch you today. Glad you are here. Client of mine, Randy. Client of mine, Carlton. Carlton is a truck driver. Jimmy, Carlton, a client of mine. Speaking of knurling, I use it to help me with consistency with grip width. Yep, absolutely. That's a good thing about the knurling is it can help you remain consistent with that grip width. Personal. What should I do? I lost 3 reps on my bench. Make sure your food is good. Make sure your food is consistent and forget about it. It's very unusual to lose 3 reps on your bench. I've had weeks where I've lost 1 or 2 for random reasons. The presses can be very fickle. They can maybe be a little bit low for random reasons, calories or electrolyte intake or less glycogen in the muscles, or just a little bit of cumulative fatigue or just a really bad day. Number 1, there's 2 things you can do. Number 1, forget about it, because you're in this for the long run and hard work will always pay off. And number 2, make sure your food intake is nailed. And if you do that, all good things are coming to you. Randy. All right, guys, we got about 5 questions left. Post up your questions now. If I don't get any more questions, I'll hop off, but I'd love to see a few more questions. So if you guys have any questions, post them up now. We got 5 left in the queue, I believe. I legit those 110s on the dumbbell press for 8 yesterday and then dropped the last 2 sets for 10. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. And then when that first set crawls up, and that could take months because that's some heavy weight, then you could move the second set up and then eventually the third. So the exercises in my compound quads versus hammies are RDLs and lunges. I'm a little bit confused. Are you doing squats? I'd have to see the bigger picture, because are you saying you want to do RDLs before lunges? If that's what you're saying, that's absolutely fine. You're not going to see a lot of punishment doing RDLs before lunges. RDLs are actually a more intense posterior type of movement. So you probably, that would be absolutely fine if you want to do RDLs before lunges. Will time continue to run after the human species no longer exists? Time will continue to run forever. We will always progress forward, and some motion is the nature of matter in all things material, waves and cycles, breathing in, breathing out, right? Terrence Howard, that sort of thing. But seriously, motion is always the state of matter and existence. Something is always moving and moving something else. There's never any static. There's never any still. And regardless of how you view time, there will always be movement compared to where it was previously. Saw your video, add 50 pounds to your bench in a year. Interested in something like this for the squat. Can I transfer this? Any adjustments to make? Eric, hit me up if you can on DM, because this is, I want to look at that again and actually give you an intelligent response, rather than, I don't have it in front of me right now because I'm sitting here in a hotel room and I'm recording on my phone, and then I got my pad here where I am monitoring questions, etc. So hit me up on email, benthebarman@gmail.com, or on Instagram at benthebarman. I'd be happy to help you out. You can pretty much apply any of the principles in that. You can apply a lot of the principles to that 50 pounds you're squatting here. We just might have to adjust how you approach that. So on the bench, you're talking about adding more volume. On the squat, the number one thing is that we really have to nail down our form, because squat form is generally, excuse me, a little bit more subpar than we're used to. So that's a cornerstone. And once our squat form is good, we have to make sure that we're getting in a reasonable amount of volume. Excuse me, folks. So hit me up. Robo Warrior. So basically, don't neglect accessory movements if they're what you need. Everybody needs accessory movements, regardless of what you're training for. Muscle building, strength building, we all need a well-rounded grouping of exercises. Also, basic question, heavy, medium, or light when cutting. When cutting, you don't change your program. The only thing you do differently during your programming when you're cutting is that you don't over push for PRs, right? You be safe. That doesn't mean you can't steal a PR, right? If you're doing dumbbell curls and you do 9 reps and number 10 is going to be easy, take it. But we don't want to do really low rep work during a cut, because we can be low on glycogen. We can be randomly low on energy. It can just put us in an awkward position where we could encourage random injuries. And plus, we want to save that big push for when we have a calorie surplus. So on a cut, we don't want to dramatically change our programming, but we want to steal a rep when we can, and we don't really want to change our programming during a cut, if that makes sense. Eric, how have you changed your training when you have noticed that it isn't sustainable for you to do every set to the limit? Training every set to the limit can be mentally stressful, but we have to take things on an exercise by exercise basis, okay? Because that is super important. We can't put everything into one category. Like, I'm going to stop training all exercises every set to the limit. We have to take it on a case-by-case, exercise-by-exercise basis. So on bench, I don't find bench press forgiving when I do that physically, so I can push each set harder and deeper. So I continue to do so. On squats or deadlifts, pushing one set for maximum reps. Squats, I'm less likely to push them deep. I push them safely 2 or 3 reps away. It's just the principle I call evolving your training based on needs. You're in the gym, you're doing cable tricep extensions. You only want to do the last 2 sets because they're too fatiguing, whatever. That's a silly example, but it all comes down to what is taking place in the gym and what you feel. Are you being punished? Are you being beat up? Is it taking a lot of time? Is it taking a lot of recovery time in between workouts? It's okay to downgrade how many sets you push to the limit, as long as you have probably at least 1 per exercise, if that makes sense. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in. Big Stephen Beck. I'm going to have rotator cuff and bicep repair surgery. That does not sound fun at all, and I hope everything goes well for you. Any advice for what to do while I'm waiting for the doctor to clear me for lifting? Number 1, you want to stay consistent with your nutrition. I'm not telling you to bulk, not telling you to cut, but stay mentally in that lane, because the last thing you want to do is become a fatty, right? You don't want to gain weight when you're in that stage. You don't want to get loose and start slamming beer and eating nachos and become a piggy and gain all kinds of weight and then have to come back after surgery and now you got to cut. It can be a good time when you are down and away from the gym to cut some weight. You don't have to do an extended cut. You don't have to long cut, but it could be a good time to drop off 10 pounds of weight because you're not training. So you could consider that as well. Stay active, walk, take the dog out, swim if you can, do a little hiking, whatever. Stay active. If there's something you can train, like your lower body, then train it. If there are some exercises you can do without straining the area, train it. Be reasonable, be smart, and most of all, keep the right attitude. This is a long game. You're going to come back. You're going to have to make adjustments. Life is all about making adjustments. So everybody over the course of their training career is going to need to make some adjustments. This is what you have in front of you. You can't change it. So embrace it as a challenge. Let me know if you need any help. Do you think behind the neck press are worth including if you have adequate mobility? I did the behind the neck press for 20 years. It was just an old school lift we did. We didn't worry about it. I only lower the bar right to the bottom of the ear level. That's just, if you look at where my elbows are, when it's right at the below my ear level, my elbows are well below my shoulders. That's deep enough. If you want to take it deeper, you can. I think it tends to place unwanted uh, uh, external shoulder. When it comes to external shoulder rotation, it places some unwanted stress in that position. You're getting unwanted external shoulder rotation. I don't think, unless you have super great mobility, that you should take it any lower than the bottom of the ear. And if you do, you have to consider that it's okay at a point in time that you can slowly bring it up to that position. So I don't know if that makes sense. Big Justin Jones, I'm lifting 3 days a week. Junk day, which is, for those of you guys tuning in, a junk day is what we typically call anything you want to toss in that doesn't fit during the week. Extra arm work, calf work, ab work, rear delt work, trap work, whatever you want to do, right? Incline walking 50 minutes on all off days and doing a lot of hard walking for at least 1 hour to finish almost every day. Yeah, you can grow muscle. The body is not fragile. The body is not, oh my God, I can't move at all other than lifting. You have your nutrition in place, you're going to be absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. In fact, I applaud anybody that does extra movement outside of the gym. I ran for 2,500 kilometers a year at our peak when we were doing. I didn't lose muscle. I didn't lose my ability to focus in the gym. The body is not fragile. So you just have to make sure you're getting in your calorie intake so you can recover properly. It's like hiking to go fishing. Fair enough, man. Sounds relaxing, enjoyable. Robo Warrior. Sorry, it's hard to get in depth. I've been back at since April. No, I understand that's one of the limitations of live. So that's why I suggest coming over and joining teammassiveiron.com or just hit me up on DM on Instagram. Chris, our All right, I think we're back. Sorry about that. That was some kind of a weird hotel thing where it killed my internet, so I sincerely apologize. I don't think it likes me live streaming up in here, but it's 2024. We can't figure out how to get continuous internet in most places, so I apologize. But let's get back to the question. RDL isn't a must for someone without hamstring equipment. And those of you guys tuning in, thanks for hanging tough during that technical difficulty. Post up your questions. I'm here to help. All right. Are RDLs a must for someone? So hamstring equipment, we have like a back extension station where we can do glute ham raises. We have like a leg curl station. You can do single leg wall RDLs, which is something I've been giving to some of my clients lately where they don't want to do always loading up a barbell. You can do a barbell RDL. You can kind of rig up a ghetto glute ham raise. You can use a band. You can put your heels under a barbell, and you can use the band to kind of help you get up out of the bottom. You can do that on a bench. You can do that on the floor. You can kind of rig up some hamstring exercises. You can do like heels elevated reverse lunges are going to hit your glutes and maybe your hamstrings a little bit more. There are some things you can do. You can do a wide stance, heels elevated, good morning. And you do that just like an RDL where you drive your glutes back to lower the weight. So there are some other variations. You can do a Dimmel deadlift where you kind of feel you can kind of transfer the stress a little bit to your hamstrings. So there are some other things you can do. So guys, I'm going to stay on as long as you have questions. Keep the questions coming. We got some more in the queue. I hope that helps, Chris. Just let me know if you need some more information. Do you think my bench went down too much training? I do 18 sets of chest. No. Usually, if your bench goes down, it could be lingering fatigue, but usually it's inconsistency in nutrition. I'd like to know, do you know your calorie intake each day? It's not a criticism, just being real here, because I want to help you build your bench. Do you know your calorie intake each day, and do you nail it? That's question number 2. Is your weight holding steady, or is your weight going up? At some point, if you want your bench to go up, you're going to have to eat in a calorie surplus. Other than that, don't overthink it. Just get back in the gym and attack. How would you define your diet approach? Low carb, high protein, moderate fat, high carb. What would be a good body weight goal for 5'7" male? Let's answer that first. So at 5'10", I use 5'10" because that's what I am, and it's a good reference point. 5'10", for every inch of height you have difference, it's about 5 pounds of body weight, because you have extra bones and blood and stuff and skin and stuff, right? Just to sound like John Madden. So you have about 5 pounds. So that's about 15 pounds difference for me. Bodybuilders on stage tend to compete 170, 173, 175, 178, maybe 180, maybe 183 if they're super lucky. So let's just say 175 for a round number for 5'10". Drop 15 pounds off there for your height. You're at about 170 bodybuilder on stage. Back that up a little bit, because you're only looking to say 10, 11, maybe 170, and back that down 10 pounds, because you're probably not at maximum natural potential. That's not a criticism, that's an assumption. So maybe like 160 is a good first range to kind of get around, and then to play around with bulks and cuts at that range. So my diet approach in general, right now I'm on the road, so it's harder to do only meat, but my diet approach is animal-based, plant-based, and when it comes to carbs, I tend to just do rice and some potatoes or oatmeal. I keep it pretty simple. I I would say it's just something that's very classic. It's how the bodybuilders ate of past years. I don't know that they ever relied on potatoes or complex carbs in the 70s and maybe 80s, but they did later on. So very classic bodybuilding style, nutrient focused, um, focus on getting enough protein, just for not just for the protein intake, but for the micronutrient content, etc. Harut, how do I how do how I do see so how do I see so many people pushing crazy weight for squats and deads with absolutely terrible form every week? Yeah, man, I know what you're saying. I'm not laughing at them, but man, sometimes I'm rolling on Instagram, and I see someone cat back deadlifting like I'm like 585. I'm like, dang, it's gonna tear up their lower back. Um, why don't they get hurt? They're going to get hurt. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. You don't see the guys that did that got hurt. You just see the guys currently in that tunnel on the train to Deathsville, so to speak. Is it not counterproductive to lose weight when not lifting? No. What's the fear? The fear you're going to lose muscle? You're not lifting anyway, right? And I'm not being argumentative, but I'm just trying to address the fear. Do you think you're going to hold on more weight by being at maintenance or eating in a calorie surplus? No. Number one, muscle memory is a real thing. Even if you lose a few ounces, it's going to come back when you regain, normal eating and normal lifting. There's no downside. You're not going to lose a couple ounces of muscle and it's gone forever, right? This fear is not grounded in reality, and I'm saying that politely. There's no downside at all. The fear is like, if you have 20 pounds of muscle mass and you're not lifting, you're after like 10 days, after like 20 days, you're going to start to lose a little bit, right? I would say you're probably going to lose, in the first 3 to 4 months away from lifting, you're probably going to lose 10, 15 pounds of muscle. If you had a lot, if not, you maybe just lose 5 to 10. You're going to lose it anyway, but muscle memory is real. You're going to get it back. So, guys, don't live in that fear world. We have to view things in the long. You're not going to lose a couple ounces of muscle and it's gone forever. That's not the way it works, guys. Muscle memory is a real thing. You're going to get it back. And it's not like being in a deficit is just going to amplify muscle loss. It's not. Muscle is very hard to get rid of. The body's not eager to get rid of muscle. It's a slower process. So what we're best off doing when we can't lift is getting the fat off so we can be ready to bulk again. What's worse? Okay. I don't know why that happened. What's worse? I'm going to give this scenario to you. You can't live for a while, so you just try to maintain because you're panicking, right? You're panicking. Can't lift, don't want to lose muscle. So you gain a little bit of weight, 5 pounds. You lean on the side of a little bit of a surplus. You get back to lifting, you feel like a fat ass. Now you got to extend the amount of time that you're away from productive bulking and get back after it again. So let's prepare ourselves when we can't lift, if possible, if we feel motivated, to lose weight so we can prep ourselves to bulk as long as possible. That is the intelligent way forward. Did you know the word muscle comes from the Latin term that means little mouse? No, I did not, and I don't know if I never know if someone's blowing smoke up my ass or making a joke or if it's true. So I'll just take your word for it, Peter. I got long limbs. Would you recommend squat shoes with a heel? No. I wouldn't recommend just going out and buying $150 squat shoes. Long limbs. I have long arms and shorter legs. So first off, we need to take a look at your squat form. we need to make sure your squat form is okay. And, send video. Send me a video from behind. Make sure it's not a shaky cam. You can send that on Instagram, Eben the Barman, or join Team Massive Iron. I'll be happy to look. But don't just run out and buy squat shoes thinking it's going to magically cure things, because the only thing it's going to magically cure is $150 from your bank account. Be smart about things. Let's have somebody, a professional, look at your squat form, and then we can kind of go from there. Troy. Hey, boss, how's your training going recently? This week, non-existent. I've been so exhausted and driving, so it's been going good. I ran a block of I ran a couple different blocks this year. I'm looking at putting something together. This might sound crazy, but Mike Mentzer was all the rage, right? And I am looking at putting together a really intense program, not Mike Mentzer-ish, but that puts together, that is completely intensity focused. That is in that family of training, the super intense, super brutal, sort of the stuff I give my clients, but I want to put together the ultimate. So I really have a bug in my ass about putting together, because I'm tired of the Mike Mentzer stuff. If his training was any good, we'd still be using it. Everybody would be using it. It's not bad. It's just a training program, but there are holes in it. Like, we can't train everything to failure. We can't train deadlifts to failure. So I'm looking at putting together the Massive Iron principles and something that is a little bit more intensity focused, that is like something I've never done before. And that's really what I want to create and test. You bet, Chris. Thanks for tuning in. I get long limbs. What do you recommend? I already did that one already. Big Chris. Do you like or recommend to do a short warm-up to get your body warmed up? It depends, Chris. Like, if I'm going in the gym to do deadlifts, for those of you watching, there are a couple things we have to worry about or focus on or think about when we're warming up for a workout. We have to think about, is our body temperature up? Do we feel kind of loose in our body temperature up? Number two, we have to warm up our central nervous system, and we do that by ramping up our warm-up sets. So I will say that there are many lifters that go into the gym and they do 10 minutes of steady state, low intensity cardio to get the body a little bit loose, to get the body temperature up a little bit. I would say for me, when I'm going into bench, when I'm going into squat, when I'm going into deadlift, when I'm going into overhead press, just the action of walking in the gym, moving around the equipment, setting up the equipment, getting in my gym bag, getting the clips, loading the weights, doing the warm-up sets. I would say that whole 10 to 15-minute ritual before my first warm-up set, before my first working set, is the equivalent of doing the 10 minutes of steady state. I would argue that if you are doing everything reasonably, that's the same thing, right? So do I feel compelled to tack on another 10 minutes? No, I really, really don't. Does that make sense? What are the chances that I'm lifting too much for recovery? I don't know. I can't give you a generic answer on that, because we'd have to look at we'd have to comb through things, your nutrition. We'd have to comb through your training program, your consistency, all those sorts of things. Peter, did you ever encounter a real Karen in your life? I've never had anybody go after me. No. I've certainly seen some people go crazy in real life. Peter, curious what you ate at a baseball game. I don't go to many games, and when I do, I tend to get the A1 seats. So I spent $210 on a seat at Coors Stadium. That was the press club. And the Press Club, they have food in there, pretty much anything you want. They had chicken and they had what they call Fiesta rice. So I had chicken and Fiesta rice, and they had like a little charcuterie board where you could have cheese and meats and fruits and stuff like that. I was pretty toast from the time zone change here is messing with me. So I slept in about 8, and I didn't really eat anything till then. So I had the chicken and rice. I had a little bit from the charcuterie, and I did have one sausage. Saw your video on never getting 18-inch arms. Are those never achievable? Extremely, extremely difficult, especially lean. I mean, first off, we have to understand that 18-inch arms, when we're not lean, are definitely a lot easier to build. But I want you to find the styloid process, that little bony protrusion right here on your wrist, okay? And if you want to know about what a good goal is for your wrist size at your current body fat percentage, find that styloid process, which is that bump, and then measure yourself above it towards the hand, right around there, and measure that. Whatever that is, add 10 to 11 inches to that, and that's a good goal for you for your arm size based on what body fat percentage you are now. Now, if somebody's really big, like 35, 40% body fat percentage, you could add 12 inches to that. So if it was like 8, they could easily have 20-inch arms because of the body fat percentage. Instead of Mike Mentzer, couldn't you do? I don't want to do Max OT. I want to create my own programs. And I'm saying that respectfully, Peter. I don't like Max OT. I find it boring. It's not my style. I create programs for a living, and I want to create something for my world and my people. And I mean that respectfully, but I don't do other people's programs. I create my own. And anybody that hasn't seen my programs, you can go over to superlivingtoday.com and check out the workouts tab or check out my workout collection. I mean it respectfully. I don't really care to run anybody else's programs. I ran everybody else's programs, probably from 2004 to 2007. I played around with a lot of different programs, but no, I don't really care for Max OT as a program. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I just don't particularly like it. Plus, I want to create my own program. Thank you so much for still broadcasting today, Coach. You inspire us to work harder and school us to work smarter. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I appreciate each and every one of you. Do you think people are putting too much emphasis on recovery? I think people put too much emphasis on the belief that the body is fragile. Like their dick is going to fall off if they do 20 minutes of cardio after a workout, or if they miss 200 calories on a meal, like they're going to lose all gains. All this fear, and it's all nonsense. And a lot of it's driven by these nonsense fitness influencers and creators. And like, if they can instill why you might be losing gains when you're doing cardio, shut up. All this stuff is fear mongering. All it does is scare you guys. All it does is waste your time. And the body is not that fragile. The body is not that fragile. The body is not that fragile. If you nail your nutrition and you nail your training, the body is going to react. And excuse me, turn down your volume because I'm about to swear. Fuck all these people. Fuck the fear mongerers, and all the nonsense they are shoving down your throats about how fragile the body is. It's not reality. You take care of yourself with food. You take care of yourself with exercise. The body is going to respond, and it's going to condition to the demands that you place it under. Tried the cable pullover with incline bench. Love it. It's a very interesting lift, and not one that you see many people do. I have not had the opportunity to try it yet because I can't do it in my home gym. Really, because my cable's not long enough. Where I have to set my bench at compared to my cable station, it's just not long enough, so I can't really try it at my home gym. But anybody that's curious, look at the cable pullover with a slight incline. You can kind of do it like a lat prayer or like a dumbbell pullover. John Paul says he loves it. Is there a difference compared to the standing pullover facing the cable? Like a lat prayer, that's for everybody to decide. I think the cable pullover is going to function more like the classic pullover station, if that makes sense. Stephen, how's it going, Stephen? How strict should form be? You always need to be in control of the weight on most exercises, except for those that are lower back killers. So the lower back killers are like the deadlifts and the barbell rows. You don't want to overwork, the eccentrics on those. But you have to be in control of the weight. You just can't throw the weight around. Form is very essential for saving the body from beatings, right? Keeping the body healthy and for getting the most out of your training. Should I add an arm day for lagging arms? What you can do is consider adding a junk day. I like recommending a junk day on a Saturday. A junk day, you can do a little bit of arm work during the week, obviously, whatever you're normally doing. But on Saturday, you can add in a junk day. Anything you couldn't fit in during the week, it could be calves and abs and traps and rear delts, and extra arm work. So you can absolutely add extra arm work in. One of the issues when we try to equate volume with like the major body parts, which are chest, delts, shoulder, or chest, delts, back, and quads, with volume for arms, is that we like to think that our volume for our arms and our volume for our major body parts shouldn't be equal because the major body parts are bigger. And while I generally don't advocate overtraining the smaller muscle groups with volume for volume's sake, understand that you can add in a little bit more volume for the smaller muscle groups because you generally aren't using a lot of big hitters. They're not as intense. If you start off with quads, for example, and you hit them crush, boom. Let's just talk legs. You hit legs with squats and RDLs and leg presses and hack squats and lunges, whatever you're doing. You got a big battery of exercises. Brutal, draining, time-consuming. But you could say, you should not do the same amount of work for your triceps as you do for your quads because the quads are a bigger muscle group. Well, for triceps, you're doing cable tricep extensions, seated push downs, maybe a JM press. They're not as brutal as the work you did for quads. So generally, because they're not as brutal, you can add in more work and it's more forgiving. Does that make sense? We have to focus, though, on how our joints and our elbow and connective tissue and everything is responding to the additional volume. But you can definitely add in extra volume for your arms because it's not as intense. I recommend considering a junk day like on a Saturday. Joshua, I do Marcus Phillies program, and the entire program is built around fear. I was also so scared I was going to get hurt if I did. Never heard of it. Never heard of it. I will check it out. And I'd be curious to hear how he, doing the stuff you fear, doing the exercise you fear. Always remember that I don't know his program. I don't know the context, but we always want to do the stuff that is best for progress, right? Are we trying to facilitate hard training and use the best possible exercises? Or are we trying to train our fear, our capability to handle fear? So I'll leave it at that. I went backwards so far. Guys, if you're looking for good programs, I've spent my life programming. I started at Muscle and Brawn and then Muscle and Strength and then Tiger Fitness and then my own book, Massive Iron. Programming is my life. It is what I love to do. And you can head over to my website, superlivingtoday.com, superlivingtoday.com. and check out the workout collection. That has 354 pages of workouts. You can also check out my book, Massive Iron, or you can check out the workouts tab and you're like, hey, thanks for the commercial, buddy. Everything I have over there, I have here for free in video format. If you want to support me by buying that stuff, great. If you don't, it's here for free. My goal is to help you. And if you want to support me in the process, that's your call. Should my arms be completely vertical during an overhead triceps extension? No, you can allow a little bit of elbow rotation, because elbow rotation calls into play the long head of the triceps. So it's okay to have a little bit of elbow rotation. Just keep things natural. Peter, did you create a free community? Yes. I have 2 communities. I have Team Massive Iron, which is like micro training. You can get 4 form checks a week. You can get direct programming help. You get the chat features. We have a lot of great stuff going on. Team Massive Iron also has a lot of my content for free, PDFs and that sort of thing. I also have another community, which is a free community on School, which is just a general community. It's gated like a Facebook community, but I do have 2 communities. One is paid, one you get more for, right? More value, more community, or more value, more information, more access. That's teammassiveiron.com. Faye Dan, for quads in my home gym, all I do is safety bar squats and sissy squats. I have a heavy day and light day, and do both each day. Seems to be working so far. Just always remember that what works and what is best can be 2 different things. I'm not saying you need to run out and add exercises, but I think you should consider, if you are serious about growing your legs, adding in Bulgarian split squats or lunges at least to that equation. Joshua, basically he advocates against hard training because you're going to get hurt. No, you shoot your eye out, kid, right? You'll shoot your eye out, kid. Training is dangerous. I don't know the context, but if that's what you want to do, run through the field and collect butterflies with your butterfly net and be all safe and wrap your body in bubble wrap and all that kind of shit. I don't have any. That's not what I'm about here. So I hope he has fun. I hope he has a good life. I wish him well, but not my thing. All right, guys, last call. This is the last question. If you have any questions, get them in now. Have you ever refused to create a custom program? Yes. Based on the fact that they want something. Yes, I have refunded 2 or 3 people back over the years that I simply couldn't. They didn't have enough equipment, or they wanted me to create a program that was somebody else's program, or the requirements were too much. I'm not going to be confrontational or argumentative about it, but yes, there are sometimes when I get a custom program, I look at it and I say, I can't do this. I can't in all good faith create something, because it's not going to help you reach your goals. Like, hey, big, hairy, ugly dude, I have 25-pound dumbbells. I've had somebody do this. They bought a custom program and they only had like 25-pound dumbbells and a couple exercise bands, and they wanted to get as close to their natural potential as they could. I would tell them, I can put together a program for you that'll show you how to maximize your equipment, but you honestly need more equipment. You can't really get anything of value out of what you have. Or I've had some folks that wanted just things I didn't believe in, like 40 sets of chest per week. I don't believe in that stuff. I'm just going to say, look, I'm very sorry, but I don't believe that's the right way to do things, and I have no choice but to give you your money back. So I'm never going to be confrontational with someone, but if I don't believe it's effective, if I believe it's going to get them hurt, if I believe it's not going to help them reach their goals, I'll absolutely do that. All right, guys, I'm going to hang on and wait for a few moments for any other questions. But that was the last question in the queue. We had a really strong hour and 36 minutes. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please head over to Instagram at Ben the Barman, and follow me on Instagram. I'd love to connect. Please check out my website, Super Living Today. If you need a workout, a custom workout, or coaching, there's a coaching tab over there. I would love to work with you. This year, I was voted the online coach of the year by Trainerize, the world's largest coaching app in the world. I beat out 400,000 other coaches. And I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back. Didn't even know I was in the running. I work hard. Messaging, I'm with you 5 days a week. I give everything I can for my clients. I've been up, working past till 1 a.m. the last 2 nights. So if you are tired of poor results, check out the coaching tab. I'm also one of the most cost-effective coaches in the industry. After the first month, it's only $89.40 US per month. And everybody tells me I'm insane for having my price so low. I love coaching. This is my price. And it's what I love to do. So if you're interested, you can check out the coaching tab. And what else do we got going on? We have two communities, teammassiveiron.com, which is kind of the insider micro coaching, form checks, that sort of thing. And I also have my school community as well. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll be home next week, back here at 11 a.m. Eastern. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a good day.